right, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me for a 60-minute Yin Yoga class. This is a floor-based class. You will want either a yoga mat or a carpeted area. You don't need a fancy yoga mat. And you might also want some household items like pillows or blankets nearby. So none of the postures that we're doing depend on props, but you might find that some of them are a little bit more accessible with props, and you don't need fancy yoga props, just like some pillows or blankets from your house. I'm gonna adjust our camera angle just a little bit here. Okay, so if you've never practiced Yin Yoga is a floor-based, gentle style of yoga. Rather than holding postures for like 30 seconds or a minute, we'll hold postures for several minutes at a time. And the idea is that we'll work not just into muscle tightness, but also into connective tissue, into tendons, ligaments, fascia. So, if you were to hold a yoga posture for, let's say, 30 seconds, I might say like push to your maximum, contract your muscles. But in Yin Yoga, you want to do like 70% of what you think you should be doing. And if you tend to be like go-getter, type A, kind of self-critical, then you probably want to do about like 60% of what you think you should be doing. So the idea is we're going to be really gentle in the postures, but we're going to hold them for longer. If at any point in class something doesn't feel right to your body, I will try to provide several different modifications, posture options, as well as optional props that might make some of the postures more accessible. On top of, stretching our physical body in Yin Yoga, part of what we're doing in yoga is getting to know ourselves a little bit better so that we can trust our intuition and trust that, like this posture doesn't work for me, so I'm going to do something else instead. So, again, we're stretching the body, we're breathing into the body, but we're also getting to know ourselves a little bit better so that we can learn to trust ourselves a little bit more. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position, whatever that is for you. You can sit crisscross applesauce or in Sukhasana, easy pose with one foot in front of the other. Can take a moment here, sitting up nice and tall, maybe rock back and forth, feel both of your sit bones firmly rooted into the floor. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and take a nice slow breath. If closing your eyes is distracting, you can do a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. So eyes can be a little open, but you're not focusing on objects in your periphery. And as you start to enter into a more intentional time where you're really noticing your breath and your body, notice what's starting to come up for you. It could be something that you have to do after class, or something that happened earlier today, or just like a general feeling that's kind of been following you throughout the day. And notice whatever it is that's been on your mind or on your heart today. And if you'd like, you can imagine making a box, politely putting all of those things on your heart and your mind in that box, closing the box, and then setting it aside. So, the outside world can be there for you after class, but just for now, give yourself permission just to be with your breath and your body. And remember that sometimes I will feel almost guilty or irresponsible for letting go of my to-do list for a while, but actually, as you may have realized by now, when we set that stuff aside, when we set aside the outside world for a moment, we can actually come back to it with like renewed vision, creativity. So it's not irresponsible or like bad of you to put aside those worries and cares. Actually, can help you deal with them better after class. So again, just politely setting aside whatever it is that's been on your mind or your heart, so you can really just sit and breathe with your body. We're going to start with a breathing exercise called 4-2-7 breathing. You'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 2, and then exhale through your nose for a count of 7. So the idea is you inhale fairly fast, briefly hold the inhale, and then slowly exhale through your nose. When you exhale intentionally longer than you inhale, you take your body into the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to relax muscles. It tells your body that there's no need to fight, flight, or freeze. I really like this breathing exercise because it's so calming And the other reason I like it is there's some breathing exercises in yoga that you wouldn't necessarily want to do in public because you might look a little weird. But with 4-2-7 breathing, if I'm ever having like a stressful conversation with someone, I will, without announcing it, I'll just start doing the breathing technique. Or if I'm like stressed out in traffic or whatever that is, you can do this breathing technique outside of yoga. Nobody's going to notice that you're doing it, and it helps to slow down your heart rate, helps to get you out of that fight, flight, or freeze mechanism into a more relaxed state. So we'll practice this 4-2-7 breath here, and you can take it with you outside of yoga as well if you find that it's helpful for getting a little more relaxed. So sitting up tall, eyes can stay relaxed, seal your mouth, relax your jaw. And begin, inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the inhale, 1, 2. Exhale through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through your nose, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause, 2, 1. Exhale through your nose, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for a count of 4. Pause for 2. Slowly exhale for 7. Inhale for 4, counting in your own head. Hold for 2. Slowly exhale for 7, using the count to center your mind on the breath. Inhale for 4. Pause for 2. Slowly exhale for 7. We'll do 1 more minute of 4-2-7 breathing. You're going to do it at your own rate, counting in your head. So you inhale, feel your chest rise. And when you exhale, feel your shoulders fall. The mind is wandering, just returning to the 4-2-7 count. Let's do 1 more full round of 4-2-7 breathing. Whenever you're ready, just returning your breath to normal, in and out through your nose. And if at any point in class your mind really starts to wander, you can always just return your thoughts towards your breath. And this is a wonderful, simple, easy technique to bring you back into your body, back into the present moment. You're going to make your way onto your back for our first posture of the day. It's a fan favorite. It's called Bananasana or Banana Pose. So as you lie down on your back, picture in your mind's eye your favorite banana. It can be perfectly yellow, a little brown and bruised, maybe a little green, not yet ripe. It could be Chiquita, Dole, Fair Trade, Organic, Trader Joe's, whatever it is for you. And we're gonna make that shape with our body. So start by bringing your feet close together, arms overhead. You can take a moment here, maybe flex your toes back towards your face, stretching up and down, lengthening through the spine. And then as you're ready, you're going to start to walk your hands and your feet to the right side of the room so that from a bird's eye view, your body makes a C curve like a banana. Now there's lots of options here. You can have both arms long. You can also bend your arms so that you catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. You could, if the arms are long, you could also cross one hand on top of the other. So lots of options in the upper body. For the lower body, you can have your feet side by side, or if you'd like to stretch your IT band on the outer left thigh, you can cross your left foot over your right foot, and that'll stretch more of the outer left thigh. We're going to hold here for a full 3 minutes. If at any point you need to wiggle out or take a break, you are welcome to. If the stretch becomes too intense, you can bring your hands and feet a little bit closer back to the center of your mat. If you don't feel anything at all, you can bring your hands and feet a little bit further to the right to increase the stretch. The idea here is we're slowly starting to wake up our spine at the beginning of class. You're gently stretching the left side body, gently compressing the right side body. And remember, because we're holding this posture for 3 minutes, you don't need to go super deep to receive the benefits, right? You want to do about 70% of what you think you should be doing. And if you identify as like type A go-getter, can be hard on yourself, do about 60% of what you think you should be doing. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and just take a slow inhale through your nose. Feel your ribs expand. And a slow exhale through your nose. Feel your ribs contract. So there's 3 rules to Yin Yoga. The first rule of Yin Yoga is there is no Yin Yoga. Just kidding, that's a Fight Club reference. The first rule of Yin Yoga is you make a shape, right? We're making a banana shape with our body. The second rule is that you hold the shape. And the third rule is that you breathe. Make a shape, hold a shape, breathe. Pretty simple, right? However, if you, like me, find it difficult to hold still, you might find that about a minute in, it becomes a little uncomfortable. Many people say that Yin Yoga, even though the postures look gentle, is actually a really difficult style of yoga, especially mentally, because we're invited into stillness, into breath. And a lot of us, myself included, aren't really good at sitting still. If you're not good at being still, I'm right there with you. This is where the idea of yoga as a practice comes in. So we don't have to be perfect at holding still. We don't have to make the deepest shape with our bodies, right? We're just practicing a little bit of stillness, a little bit of breath. And when you find perhaps that you've started to fidget or your mind has inevitably wandered, you're going to congratulate yourself for noticing that, for that self-awareness. And then you're going to compassionately bring yourself back into your body, back into stillness, back into breath. So it's not about having a perfect practice or about holding still the whole time. It's just about like doing your best in the moment and meeting yourself wherever you are. Let's also notice the difference between if what you're doing right now does not feel good to your body, like let's say you're feeling way too much of a stretch on your left IT band, you might want to uncross your feet to ease up that stretch, right? So if something does not feel sustainable, it doesn't feel good, that's an invitation to switch out what you're doing. We're about a minute and a half in, so we're halfway there. Notice the difference though between occasionally moving because what you're doing you realize does not feel good for your body. Notice the difference between occasionally moving or grabbing a prop so that you can breathe better versus constantly moving because holding still is really uncomfortable. If you find that you have to adjust every like 10 seconds, maybe just invite yourself to do a little bit less so that you can hold still. But conversely, if you're a little stubborn and you find that, you're really uncomfortable, but you don't want to move, that's an opportunity to practice just listening to your body and maybe moving for a second so that you can get out of pain. Again, just going to a gentle stretch, never a point of pain. I'll be silent for the last 30 seconds. Take a slow inhale through your nose. And as you exhale through your nose, release any lingering tension in your body. So you're just melting into the posture. So you let the floor hold you up. Take an inhale through your nose. And this time, if it feels good, you can open your mouth and slowly exhale through the mouth. Letting go of any lingering worries or cares in the mind. So that body and mind just get a little bit lighter, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more at ease. When we hold postures for long periods of time, we want to take care coming out of them. So let's say you have your left foot crossed on top of your right foot. Start by uncrossing the feet. If your elbows are bent, maybe lengthen the arms. If one hand is on top of the other, separate the hands. And then slowly start to walk your hands and feet back towards the center line of your mat or your carpet. You can stretch up and down. And then when you're ready, bring your arms down. You can make any other movements that might feel good to your body here. And then you're gonna find your way into what we're calling Puddle Pose. So you can lie with your arms and legs as wide apart or as close together as you want. In other styles of yoga, this posture is often called Savasana or corpse pose, dead body pose. And the idea is that you wanna lie still like a dead body, right? But in Yin Yoga, a lot of the yoga postures have kind of more playful names, which I like banana pose. Or this pose is called Puddle Pose, like a rainy day puddle that you could jump in. So think less like a dead body and more like you're a puddle, right? You can get as big or as small with your body as you want. This is sometimes also referred to as a rebound. So the idea there is like when we were in banana pose, we stretched the left side body, compressed the right side body, worked into shoulder mobility, right? It was a little bit of a chest opener as well. And so now we want to lie still in a more neutral position to let the body even out and realign. And we'll return to Puddle Pose in between every posture. Let's do the other side of banana pose. You can bring your feet close together, arms overhead, maybe take a moment here, stretching up and down like you're having a really good yawn. And then start to walk your hands and feet to the left side of your mat. You can cross your right foot on top of your left foot if you'd like to stretch the right IT band. You can have your arms long with one hand over the other or elbows bent, grabbing, opposite elbow and opposite hand. We're going to hold here for 3 minutes. Now, right away, you might notice that this side feels a little or a lot different from the other side. It does for me. We are not symmetrical. We are not butterflies. We are perfectly imperfect. You might know already why this side feels different, like maybe a knee injury or a shoulder surgery or whatever that is. Or you might have had no idea until just now that my right side ribs feel a little tighter than my left side ribs. Nowhere in ancient Vedic texts does it say that yoga is about becoming symmetrical. Yoga is about self-realization. And sometimes our self-realization is just that my right hip is tighter than my left hip, right? And that's a good place to be. Again, during yoga, we're getting to know ourselves a little bit better so that we can trust ourselves a little bit more. And, we're not just getting to know our bodies, but we're also kind of getting to know our hearts and our minds and our spirits, right? So just keep that in mind. Maybe on the other side, it felt really good to bring your hands and feet far to the right. But on this side, you want to ease up and have your hands and feet a little bit closer to center. That's perfectly fine. Again, the idea is you're just stretching the right side body, gently compressing the left side body. It's a little bit of a shoulder and chest opener. And if the right foot is crossed on top of the left foot, it's also a nice stretch to the outer right thigh. It's not rocket science, and it doesn't have to be the deepest stretch of all time. Again, when we hold postures for longer, you will get a deep stretch. Again, in some styles of yoga where you hold postures for 30 seconds or a minute, you want to immediately kind of push to a deep point. But in Yin, you want to take it really slow. Notice where you might be holding on to tension in your body. It could be somewhere common, your jaw, right? Or your chest. Or maybe you just notice that you're like really tensing up your right pinky toe. You can do a little bit of a body scan here, halfway through the posture. Notice where you might be able to let go a little bit. So rather than contracting muscles to get into the posture, you're actually relaxing muscles to get into the posture. Rather than fighting, you're just letting go a little bit, right? Just make a shape, hold a shape, and breathe. Keep it simple. And you can use your breath to relax even more. So the exhale breath, just allowing the muscles to release, relax just a little bit more. Melting into the posture, sinking into the floor for 30 more seconds. Take a slow inhale through your nose, feel your abdomen rise. Slow exhale through your nose, feel your abdomen fall. Inhale through your nose. And if it feels good, open your mouth and just sigh out anything that you would like to sigh out or let go of. Let's be intentional with how we come out of it, taking care. If your right foot is crossed on top of your left foot, slowly uncross your feet. If your elbows are bent, lengthen your arms again. One hand is crossed over the other, uncross the hands. Slowly walk your hands and feet back to center. And as you're ready, bring your arms down by your side, and you can roll back and forth or hug your knees in, or any motion that might feel good to your body. And part of this is just trusting that we know what our bodies need. And then bring your arms and legs down, back into your puddle pose. Sometimes the release from a posture can be as intense as the posture itself. And sometimes when we release tension from our physical body, it can also release like emotions, right? So sometimes in postures or when we come out of postures, you might feel an urge to like laugh or cry, or you might feel angry or giddy or whatever it is, the same way that you might feel your hamstring release, right? Or your shoulder like move or whatever that is. So just recognize that as we continue into class. You might have realized by now, right? Let's say your boss yells at you. What do? You tense up your shoulders. You have a physical reaction to an emotional response. What many people don't realize is that this is a two-way street. So the same way that you might tense up your shoulders when you're stressed out, by relaxing the shoulders, we can also remove that tension from the emotional, psychological, spiritual body, which means that sometimes, especially in Yin Yoga, when we are releasing muscles, when we're releasing our fascia, when we're working into connective tissue, that can have like an emotional effect on you, and there's nothing wrong with you. And if nobody's told you this yet today, there's nothing wrong with you, right? No matter what you're feeling in class. Next, we're going to do a posture called Sphinx Pose. Picture in your mind's eye your favorite Sphinx. It can be the Sphinx in Egypt, Las Vegas, Harry Potter book 4. And as you're ready, you're going to bend your knees so your feet are on the floor, roll off to one side, and then keep rolling onto your abdomen. I'm going to show you this posture from the front and the back. So if you think about the Sphinx, right, the idea here is as you lie on your abdomen, you're going to bend your elbows so that you look forward with the chest up. This is kind of what it looks like from the front. From the side, the idea here is you're getting gentle compression to the lumbar spine, so it's a little bit of a back bend, at the same time stretching the fascia on the chest. Usually in a lot of yin yoga postures, the idea is to like relax as many muscles in your body as possible. In this posture, you do want a gentle activation through the elbows and forearms so that your shoulders are not sinking into your ears. So you do want to push down a little bit. From here, lots of options. Let's go through them. Sometimes having the elbows directly under the shoulders is a little too intense of a back bend. You can bring your arms forward. If you are pregnant, if you just had like a big meal before class and lying on your stomach does not feel good, you're welcome to roll up a blanket under your abdomen so there's more padding there, or especially if you're pregnant, you can place pillows underneath your thighs, your hips, so that your abdomen actually hangs off the pillow onto the floor, so there's no pressure on the abdomen. This is also good for anyone with any sort of like stomach pain, stomach issue. So there's lots of options there. You can also always place a pillow underneath your chest or under your arms for an even deeper back bend, right? And again, the thing that I have to keep in mind in this posture is inevitably I'll notice that my shoulders tense up. So when you notice that the shoulders are tensing, you're actively going to push your forearms into the floor here so that the shoulders stay away from the ears, the neck is long. Take a slow inhale to your nose and a slow exhale to your nose. We're going to hold this posture for 3 minutes, and I'm going to give you some a fun variation in minute 2. So if you'd like, you're going to start to bend your right hand in a little bit, so your right hand is at a 45-degree angle. Bend your left foot, and if you can catch your left foot with your hand. From here, if you'd like, you can start to bring the heel down towards the outside of the left hip for a quadricep opener. For most folks, it's going to look like this, but slowly over time as the quadricep and hip flexor opens up, you can tilt your elbow towards the ceiling and pull down. This is a good way to stretch out the quadricep and hip flexor, which opens up a lot of other back bends. Notice if the shoulders are tensing up, press the right forearm into the floor, keep the shoulders out of the ears, and we'll hold here for 30 more seconds. Relax your jaw. Relax your pelvic floor. Notice where you might be holding on to tension in the body. Let it go. If you have a grip on your left foot, slowly release that, bringing your left foot down to the floor. Bend the left elbow, take your left hand to a 45-degree angle for support. Bend your right foot, and if you'd like, catch your right foot and start to pull down, eventually bringing the elbow up. Shoulders away from the ears. So when we think about back bending, the obvious thing is that you're bending your spine, right? But the more that you can work into hip flexor and quadricep mobility, which we're doing here, that's stretching the whole front of the body so that it's easier to get deeper into the back bend. This is a great drill if you're trying to get deeper into like standing bow pulling pose or full camel in 26 and 2 yoga. This right here, doing this for a little bit every day will help you work deeper into quadricep and hip flexor mobility, which will help you work deeper into some of the more intense back bends. If you have your grip on your right foot, slowly release the right foot down, bringing the right elbow back. And for the last 30 seconds of this back bend, you can stay here with your elbows bent, or you can go into what's called seal pose, which is a deeper back bend. Actively press your palms into the floor, lengthen your arms, drop your shoulders. So now you're getting more of a compression to the back, extension through the heart space. Keep the hips down, shoulders down, chest proud, neck long. Inhale. Exhale through the nose. Breathe in. And if it feels good, open your mouth and sigh it all out. As you're ready, you're going to slowly lower down. If you'd like, you can stay on your abdomen for a belly savasana, belly puddle pose. You can bend your elbows out to the side. Option to have your forehead on the floor, or look to your left with your right ear on your mat. So now it's a gentle neck and shoulder opener. Send deep belly breaths in and out through your nose to massage the front of your body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. Particularly back bend and hip opening postures can release emotion. So if you are noticing anything come up, just know that that is valid. And also, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, like you don't feel anything else, you don't feel anything at all, that is also valid. Sometimes, a posture that really speaks to someone doesn't speak to someone else, or sometimes you can do a posture 10 times and feel nothing at all. And on the 11th time, you're like, whoa, that was really intense. Or maybe the first time you do a posture, it's like, kind of like groundbreaking. And then the next time you do it, you don't feel much at all. So again, we're just learning to trust our intuition, whether that means like crying for a little bit, or whether that means that you're just chilling, right? Looking to the left, whatever it is valid, right? And it's a good sign. It means that you're really listening to your body. If you're looking to one side, you're going to gently lift your head and look to the other side so you even out the neck and shoulder stretch. Notice where you might be holding on to tension in your body and just let it go. So you're really allowing the floor to support you. As you're ready, you're going to lift your head, look forward, place your hands on the floor, and slowly press yourself up. There's no rush. Make your way into a seated position. Feet facing forward. Next, we're going to do what's called shoelace pose. So keeping your legs long here, sitting up tall. From here, keep your left leg straight. Bend your right knee and see if you can cross your right knee on top of your left knee. I'm going to go through some different options and variations. This is half shoelace pose. Full shoelace pose, you're going to bend your left knee so that both legs are bent. One knee stacks on top of the other. For you, that might look like this, right? One knee might be way higher than the other. You're welcome to place blankets or pillows in between your knees. You can also, again, if this is just not happening today, you can keep the left leg long. You can always place blankets or pillows in between the knees with one leg long. You can place a blanket under an ankle if that feels good. You could also place a small blanket, a thin blanket underneath your butt so that you're sitting up a little bit. One of the things that I love about half shoelace and shoelace is one is not better than the other, they're just different. So when we're in full shoelace pose, both hips are going to be internally rotated. And as you start to fold forward, you're going to feel a stretch to the outer right thigh, outer right sit bone. So we're going to start to fold forward. Conversely, if you're in half shoelace and you fold forward, you'll get this great stretch to the back of your left hamstring. So there's no right or wrong answer. Both half shoelace and full shoelace have really wonderful properties. Again, if the bottom leg is long, you're going to stretch that hamstring. The bottom leg is bent, you might feel a little bit more working into the hip flexor, into the side seat. Okay, and from here, as you start to fold forward, I'm gonna give you even more options, right? The world is your oyster. If you would like a wrist stretch, you can rotate your hands so that your knuckles face the floor, palms face the ceiling, fingers point towards you, wrists away from you. This is a really great way to stretch out the wrists. Other wrist variations, you can have your wrists pointing in, fingers pointing out, or palms still facing the floor, knuckles facing the ceiling, fingers towards you. So lots of different fun things that you can do with your wrists, just picking one and holding still. From the side, you can stay here with a flat back, or if you'd like, you can fold forward, and rather than doing a wrist variation, just have your hands on the floor and place a pillow in between your chest and your legs. Sometimes I know that giving lots of variations can feel kind of overwhelming, like it would be easier for me to just tell you to like pick a pose and then stay there. But I'm trying to give you these variations to know that like you can do this posture, every day if you want and do a different variation every time. There's no one right answer. It's just about doing like, what does your body want right now? Does a wrist stretch feel really good for you? Does flat back feel nice for the lower back, or does rounding forward start to release some tension from the shoulders? We're going to hold here for 2 more minutes. Notice where you might be holding on to some tension in your body. Let it go through the exhale breath. Notice if the mind is wandering. And just return your thoughts to your breath. And remember that that's a practice, not a perfection. Holding here for 1 more minute. Is there one more little corner of your body that you can relax? One more little corner of your mind that you can quiet? Take a slow inhale through your nose. A slow exhale through your nose. Inhale. Anything you want to let go of, sigh it out. If you have your wrists in a stretching position, slowly return them to a more neutral position. If you're folded forward, put your hands on the floor, walk your hands in, sitting up tall. If you were doing that wrist stretch, it might feel good here to like shake out the wrists, do a little bit of this, a little bit of this. If you're in full shoelace, you're going to straighten your left leg. From here, everybody slowly uncross your right leg, sit up tall. If you'd like, you can place your hands behind you, bend your knees, and do a little windshield wiper motion, just releasing the body, releasing the hips. Then we're gonna make our way either onto your back, or if you'd like, you can join me on your side. You can have a pillow underneath your head. You can also just lie with your ear on your arm. You're also welcome to lie on your back or on your abdomen. I think it can be nice to lie on the side from time to time. Just letting everything stretch out and realign. Letting the floor hold you up. So especially in the last year, many of us had to become even more self-sufficient than we already were, especially in American culture, right? That's a point of pride to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. But sometimes we can take it a little bit too far. Sometimes when we need help, we're scared to ask for help. If you're someone who identifies as like, it's a little hard to ask for help or doesn't feel safe to ask for help, yoga is a really wonderful place to start to feel supported. And you don't even have to ask a person for help. You can just ask the floor for help. So as a symbolic gesture, really allow the floor to hold you up. Like give yourself permission to feel supported by the floor beneath you. And this can just be a nice starting place, right? For allowing yourself to get support from an external thing. Then eventually, maybe that means that you can also ask for support from like a friend or a family member or a trusted guide. As you're ready, you're going to push your hands into the floor and once again, make your way into a seated position. Let's do, actually, before we do shoelace pose, we're going to do, sorry, I messed up for a second. We're going to do butterfly pose. So starting with your knees, feet together, we're going to do a posture in between the sides. You're going to start to let your knees drop and your feet come together. Okay, at first the knees are super high up, right? Eventually the knees are going to come down. You are welcome to place pillows, blankets, books underneath your knees so there's a little extra support. The more you bring your heels in towards your groin, the more you're going to feel the hips and inner thighs open. The further away you bring your feet, the gentler it will be on the hips and the knees. So just keep that in mind, finding a sweet spot. Like sitting up nice and tall, can take a moment here and maybe massage your feet. A little bit of self-care. I have to share one of my favorite jokes in Yin Yoga. Some people say that this is the most spiritual posture because it's the meeting of two souls. The insides of your feet, your souls are meeting, they're touching. I love that joke. Okay. So once you've kind of lovingly affirmed your feet, given yourself a little self-massage, option to sit up nice and tall, or you can fold forward again and that'll deepen the inner thigh stretch. You're welcome to grab pillows or blankets so that you're a little more supported. You can, again, round your spine and drop your head, or you can put your hands on the floor in front of you, stick your butt out a little bit and puff your chest up so the back is long. So from the side, it can either look like this, or it can look like this. Especially if you have a history of slipped discs or lower back pain, rounding the spine into a cashew shape can put unnecessary weight on the lower back. So sometimes having a flat back, so you're folding forward, hinging at the hips, will take pressure off of the lower back. So again, if you've had a slip disc or just like your back is feeling crunchy today, having a flat back might be a little bit better. Otherwise, folding forward. Notice where you might be holding tension in the body. Let it go through the exhale breath. We're going to hold here for a full 3 minutes. So notice if what you're doing already feels like you're at 100% of your range of motion. Come up a little bit so that you're doing 70% of your range of motion. So Yin Yoga is a relatively new style of yoga. And if you think about Yin, right, you think about Yang, or actually what's pronounced Yang. So there's Yin and Yang, right? The yang side of the body is considered the right side of the body. It's considered solar, masculine, energized. It's associated with daytime, with heat. The yin side of the body is the left side of the body. It's associated, this is in Chinese medicine, it's associated with feminine, with lunar, with darkness, with a little bit of a cooler energy. And the idea is, especially today, like in 2021 in the United States, there's a lot of yang energy yoga, right? Like a power vinyasa, a power flow, a hot hatha, right? And I love those styles of yoga, but yin yoga pushes against that a little bit and says, rather than contracting muscles to get into postures, you're going to release muscles to get into postures, right? Rather than pushing yourself to your deepest point, rather than working up a sweat, you're actually going to relax and be a little bit still. And again, sometimes when we look at, the shape of a yin posture, it might not look like much, but about halfway through, you might be going, oh my goodness. And the next day, sometimes you'll like really feel it in the hips or in the knees or whatever that is. So make sure that you're taking care to do a little bit less than you think you should be doing. Holding here for 1 more minute. Just seeing if you can relax a little bit more. Take a slow inhale through your nose. And a slow exhale through your nose. Breathe in. Anything you'd like to let go of, this is an invitation to sigh it out. You're rounding your spine. You're going to look forward first so that the back lengthens. Depending on how far you're folded forward, place your hands on the floor. Slowly, carefully walk yourself up. There's no rush. Find yourself in a seated position. From here, 2 options to come out. You can lengthen your legs and just turn the knees up, or you can put your hands on your outer thighs and with the help of your hands, bring your knees together. Slowly lower your legs. Lie down on your back, puddle pose. Whew, that was intense, for me at least. If lying on your back does not feel good to your lower back, a couple options. You can always lie on your abdomen or your side. You can also place a small blanket or pillow under your lower back or bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor and your knees rest together. And both of those options will take pressure off of the lower lumbar spine. Take a moment here to check in, noticing any sensations in the body. And it could be physical, like, ooh, my hip, feels like something released. Could be a change in temperature. Maybe you feel blood rush from one part of your body to another. Could also be something on an emotional, psychological, or spiritual plane, or likely a combination of all of them. Take a moment here to validate whatever it is that you're feeling, and then take a moment just to let it go. So our thoughts and our feelings are like clouds. Sometimes they pass quickly. Sometimes they stay all day, but it's important to remember that you are not the clouds, you are the sky. Often in life, we'll either detach and ignore what we're going through, or we'll completely attach to it. So an example is if you are feeling nauseous, you might either, think about something else, disembody, right? Detach from that thing, try to think about something else, pretend like I'm not sick, I'm not sick, I'm not sick. Or if you're feeling nauseous, you might really attach to it and all of a sudden start to say, oh my gosh, I am sick. Yoga, meditation, mindfulness offer us a third option, a third path of non-attachment, which is very different from detachment, but also different from attachment, right? So we're not ignoring how we're feeling, but we're also not taking it personally or identifying with it. So another example is like, if you feel sadness, you could ignore it completely and pretend like you're not sad. Or you could think, I am sad, like I am depressed. Or the third option is to say, I am experiencing sadness right now, right? Like it's real and also it's passing and I know it's going to pass and I know that it's more than that. Same with the body, right? Rather than like, I am tight or I am flexible. It's just like, I am experiencing some tightness in my hip right now. I'm experiencing flexibility in my hamstring. I know that these things will also change with time and age. As you're ready, you're going to roll off to one side, make your way into a seated position for the other side of shoelace. So sitting on your butt with your feet forward. Let's do the other side. Keep your right leg long, bend your left leg, cross your left knee on top of your right knee. Option to stay here and fold forward, getting the hamstring stretch, or bend the bottom leg, full shoelace. And again, if you'd like, you can fold forward. Maybe if you rested all the way down in the first set, maybe in this one you do a wrist stretch. Or if you did a wrist stretch on the first side, maybe in this one you give your wrists a little bit of a break. Up to you. Again, noticing that this side might feel a little or a lot different from the other side. And that's okay. We're not symmetrical. I sometimes make the joke that if a yoga teacher will say like, yoga will make you symmetrical to run, because they're lying. Your two eyes will never be the same shape, no matter how much yoga you do. Most of us probably have like one arm or leg that's a little longer than the other arm or leg. These are just like facts about our body. In yoga, we're working to change what we can change, working to accept what we can accept, right? And also just working to remember that all the yoga in the world isn't necessarily going to make your one leg that's slightly shorter the same leg as the same length as your other leg, but it might help you to like stretch out some muscles or strengthen some muscles, work through some tissue or fascia, right? And that can help you stand up a little bit taller, but it's not about looking symmetrical. And at the end of the day, it's really, we're using the yoga postures as a tool, right? At the end of the day, it's not even really about your body. It's really about fostering the mind-body connection, getting to know yourself a little bit better, right? Becoming more compassionate with yourself. When you can get to know yourself a little bit better, and you can be a little bit more compassionate with yourself, then it's a little easier to get to know other people better and be more compassionate with others. I'll hold here for one more minute. Noticing any lingering tension in the body, just letting it go. Take a slow inhale through your nose. Feel the backs of your ribs expand. Slow exhale to your nose. Feel the backs of your ribs contract. Breathe in. And if it's useful, let it go. Slowly start to lift yourself up. Whew. If you were doing a wrist stretch, right, do any sort of movements that might feel good to your wrists. If your bottom leg is crossed, straighten your bottom leg. From here, uncross top leg. Option to lie on your back or lie on your side. Maybe lying on the other side. And just giving yourself a moment here to let the spine stretch, to let the body realign. If you're lying on your back, gently roll off to one side so that we're all on one side. So I'm on my left side, so I'm going to explain it from that perspective, but if you're on your right side, you can still do this spine twist. Bend your knees up a little bit more, so maybe your knees are in line with your hips. And from here, you're just going to start to roll your right shoulder down towards the floor. Bring your arms out. You can have your arms out, right shoulder on the floor, head on the floor, palms face the ceiling. You can also bend your elbows, cactusing them like goalposts. Try to keep the right shoulder down as the right hip stacks on top of the left hip. This is a spine twist. And it's also an abdominal twist, which is good for digestion. If you ever have like indigestion or stomach pain, doing a spine twist is good for relieving tension from the abdomen. And spine twists to me are kind of the unsung hero of back health. So spinal health. So, especially if you sit at a desk all day, you might have figured out by now that like standing up from time to time, putting your hands on your back and doing a back bend feels good. But also make sure that you're incorporating spine twists into that. And sometimes this is almost like your own personal chiropractic adjustment. You might hear your back pop a little bit in a spine twist, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a shifting in synovial fluid, the gaseous substance in between the joints and the vertebrae. Notice where you're holding on to tension in your body, and let it go through the breath. We're going to go right into the other side. So as you're ready, keeping your right shoulder down, start to roll your right hip down towards the floor, taking a moment here with both knees bent, feet on the floor, and then roll to the other side. So left hip stacks on top of right hip, left knee on top of right knee, left foot on top of right foot, left shoulder on the floor. Especially, we did a lot of hip stuff today and several forward folds too. So letting the hips just stack here, right, is a nice way to kind of even out and square off the hips. So they're not like opening or closing, they're just neutral as your chest opens and your spine twists. Take a slow inhale through your nose. A slow exhale through your nose. As you're ready, you're going to start to roll your left hip back down. So both butt cheeks are on the floor. And this is your final Savasana, final Puddle Pose. So there's lots of options here. You can make it your own. You can keep your knees bent with your feet on the floor. You can bring your arms down by your side. You can also bring your legs down to the floor. If you'd like, you can place a pillow under your head, under your legs, make it bougie. You can put a blanket over your body, whatever feels good. Take up as much or as little space as feels right to you. And then really start to appreciate your body on the floor. Sink into the floor a little bit more. Give yourself permission just to let go. Let the floor hold you up. Relaxing through the top of your head, your chest. Relaxing through the arms and hands. Torso and hips. Soften through your legs. Let your feet be heavy. You're going to inhale through your nose, feel your chest rise. Exhale through your nose, feel your chest fall. Breathe in. And if it feels appropriate, sigh it out. If there's anything that you're still holding on to, anything that you're carrying that feels a little heavy, maybe it's no longer serving you, maybe it never did. This is an invitation to let it go. And if there's something that you can't let go of or you're not quite ready to, this is an invitation just to imagine what it might feel like in your body to let it go. Breathing in, emptying out, and all is coming. This style of yoga works deep, not just into muscle tightness, but again into tendons, ligaments, fascia, connective tissue. Almost like, when you get a massage, they always want to give you water afterwards. Same thing here. As you are ready, you're welcome to stay in final savasana for as long as you'd like. But when you are ready to get up slowly and mindfully, maybe making your way into a seated position before you stand, especially if you have low blood pressure, right? We've been on the floor for a while. And throughout the rest of your night, make sure that you're drinking lots of water, drink lots of water, drink lots of water. On another note, I am going to do a book club in the fall, so in a couple months from now, and we'll be reading a book. I'm not sure which one yet, but that'll kind of speak to what we do in Yin Yoga, which is remembering that the mind-body connection is a two-way road, and that the same way that when we're stressed, we tense up the body. By releasing the body, we can release that stress. So if you're interested in reading a book kind of around that topic, you're welcome to send me an email at hollyhancockyoga@gmail.com, and I will add you to that book club. It's great to see you all. Happy Tuesday. Hope to see you soon, friends. Bye.